Oh, that's wrong. Looking forward.
Hi, everybody. I'm John Hucker. Again, you know me as the president of the Swiss Finance and Technology Association. Another day in quarantine, my hair gets more like an afro. I'm excited to be joining you here today on Friday with something I think is really interesting in these times, the InsurTech topic. Switzerland is really a hub for insurance, and we have some great InsurTech companies. Unfortunately, Brendan Matthews couldn't join us today due to a scheduling conflict last minute, but I'm joined by Mike Dritzas, the CEO of VLOT, and also Michael KLIEN, who is the CEO of SAFESIDE. And yeah, I don't want to say too much. I'd like to dive right into it so we can get on with the weekend. Why don't I start with you, Mike? Can you say a few words and introduce yourself, please?
Hi, everybody. Hi, John. Hi, Michael. I think it's good that we've abbreviated the Mike to the Michael so we don't get mixed up here. I'm the CEO of VLOT. We're a Zurich-based InsurTech, focusing on life insurance, and particularly what we do is we are very strong in the analytics side of giving people a very clear, precise, and rapid calculation of their coverage needs. We tend to work with pension funds, insurers, also banks. We do not provide our own products, and we're a more internationally focused company than Swiss-based company. Our success is actually started overseas and have now sort of trickled back into Switzerland. Yeah, I'm very excited to have this chat with you guys, and also interested to hear a bit more about what Michael's doing, because I think we have pretty similar setups, but a different take on things.
Exactly. Thanks, Mike. I'll ask you a little bit more about the company as a follow-up, but yeah, why don't we flip it over to Michael from SafeSide.
Thank you very much for the mic here as well. Hello, can you see me now?
We can hear you, but I personally can't see you.
Okay, perfect. We have some technical issues here, I guess, some issues with the connection. I just want to say as well from my side, thank you very much for the invitation to be on your call, John. It's nice to meet you as well, Mike. You're right, we're doing something quite similar, SafeSide with VLOT, but I would say we have some very different takes and approaches. My background is actually as a financial analyst. I've been looking at insurance companies for the last almost 20 years. And out of a personal experience, I realized that there is a problem that actually the most simple or the simplest of all insurance products is actually not getting the attention it deserves. And that is pure life insurance, term life insurance. So basically insurance that pays out if something happens to you. So what SafeSide does is it provides a platform where anyone can inform themselves what is actually life insurance, how does it work, how does it potentially impact me, and if they realize that actually that is something I need, they can easily do it on our platform within 3 minutes. So what we're actually doing is we're putting the customer in the center, we're putting a very simple and off-the-shelf product in the set as well, and make it accessible or easily accessible for anyone.
Thanks, Michael. Mike, maybe you could give us a few words. What makes this part of the market interesting for InsurTechs like the two of you to get into? Why is it the right time for InsurTech to be disrupting this type of coverage space?
Well, I think for us, there are just two major issues. There's a huge protection gap for those who know what that is. That is basically a monetary quantification of the sums that people are not insuring themselves with, in the sense of death and disability, which is in the, let's say, double-digit billions. And then there's a huge old age pension gap that is rolling towards us. And we at VLOT strongly believe that the fact these things exist is because there's a lack of advice and transparency and understanding. And the older you get, let's say, the more pressing long-term savings or safeguarding your family's well-being, or taking out a mortgage for a house become, and these questions are always linked to sort of your personal situation. And we can just see it, levels of personal consumption debt, the lack of financial literacy and education. And these are all topics that we at FLOT believe are at the center of our offering. We have to give people the power to sort of enable them to take financially responsible decisions.
Yeah, I would echo that as well. I think there's a huge amount of, or surprising huge amount of financial illiteracy, in particular when it comes to life insurance. It's actually quite surprising sometimes that even people with financial backgrounds don't truly understand life insurance or the differences in different products in life insurance. There's also a huge protection gap. I think the reasons might be are definitely manifold. And some of the main reasons, I think, are also because, well, there's some very, very good advisors out there and there's some fantastic products, but unfortunately, very often the incentivization of the product manufacturers are not necessarily aligned with what the consumer or the person who wants to buy the protection actually needs. And that's where we come in. We think actually there are lots of really good products, and life insurance is one of these fantastic products that is out there. I would say one of the great financial innovations of the last couple hundred years, that you can actually protect yourself against life events. And unfortunately, it doesn't get the attention it deserves, and it gets packaged together with other products, for example, savings and so on. So it becomes very transparent, it becomes very complex. It's very difficult to understand what's happening, even if you have a financial background. And that's something we want to untangle, and we think that the digital way actually really is a step forward to utilize this to empower people to really take their own destiny into their own hands.
SAFESIDE is a newer company. This is something you're really in the early stages of launching right now, right?
That's correct. So we have just launched our beta version of our first product. Now we are, you could say, in a feedback modus. So they're collecting lots of feedback in terms of what people like, what they don't like, to make sure that once we have our official launch, that we are properly positioned.
Well, all the best. It's an interesting time, and I want to come right back to that because we're talking about insurance, and this is really an exceptional time. But Mike, VLOT is a little bit more mature. It's been around for a few years, member of the association for quite a few. You guys had a number of notable milestones, and of course, one of those has been you joining the team along its development. Can you share a bit of perspective on company development and how the crisis is now coming into the picture for you guys as a company?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I joined at the end of last summer after nearly a decade and a half at Allianz. I'm a life insurance kid through and through, and most recently was responsible for the global life insurance product portfolio from headquarters in Munich. So I've seen a lot of products, and I personally have also built products. I don't see the product as a differentiation factor anymore. It's, for me, a commodity, and I've seen and witnessed how a lot of distributions are, as Michael said, wrongly incentivized, put in a difficult position to sell a complex product, which is actually life insurance, because it's not an easy, you don't talk about a cool thing like someone's car. You're talking about people dying or disability, and from my perspective, we're trying to now shift the company into sort of a more of a broader spectrum, in the sense that there are players who are, in our perspective, much more important that need to digitalize, typically pension funds. I think pension funds will have a much greater role to play, especially now also with Corona distribution efficiency. We believe that you need to go a hybrid way. You cannot. D2C is very difficult. D2C is very difficult in the life insurance space. You need to engage with distributions from a political perspective, and also because they are, at the end of the day, the face behind a complex conversation. And during this corona crisis, I mean, we've been literally rushed off our feet in the sense that there has been an acceleration of a digital transformation from two sides. Companies are sort of seeing that, well, okay, their distributions are not allowed to go out and meet people, so they need to somehow set up advisory tools. And at the same time, there is going to be a large cost efficiency wave that's going to hit a lot of these companies in the next months, if not years, potentially also really supercharging digital transformation, because shareholders will not, let's say, let up on a level of return that they've got used to. And the question is, if you're not selling that much, where are you going to get that squeeze it out from? So I think we're going to see a lot of things that both SAFESIDE and FLOT are well positioned to use and leverage, because we're going from a completely digital approach to selling this product. Yeah, I mean, that's our take on it, and interesting times.
You took the words out of my mouth. Interesting times, and Michael, that brings me back to you.
Yeah, to be honest, I would have preferred not to have this pandemic for many reasons. One reason being that we wanted to go out into the field, and I mentioned we're in full feedback modus, so we want to collect as much feedback as possible. That is, of course, most easily done with a coffee, where you really get the proper feedback. Now we have to do a lot of calls, a lot of video calls, which works as well, but it's just not really the same thing. On a different perspective, interestingly, during the pandemic, people are more digital focused, and this helps us to some extent as well. And we have had a few customers actually thinking about the current crisis, what it means for their loved ones, and that doesn't necessarily mean their wife or their kids or their husbands or their partners, but it might actually be their parents. What happens if I'm no longer here? Who's going to look after my parents, for example? And then we had one case like this, who actually a person who bought a policy to protect his mother if something happens to him. So I guess it's a two-fold sides. On one side, we would have liked not to have the pandemic, but on the other side, it opens opportunities as well. And it properly accelerates the move to digital also for consumers.
Yeah, we seem to be living that right now, but hear it more and more that this could be the push. COVID-19 is the reason we make the digital transformation. I've seen a few memes about that. But it's Friday. I won't make too many boring office jokes. I wanted to make sure I asked you guys both. I mentioned at the beginning, Switzerland is really an InsurTech or an insurance hub, one of the biggest industries in the world, very highly insured marketplace as well. And here we are starting InsurTech companies. What do you think the market is like as an entrepreneur in that space? And do you think it could be improved and pushed to be even better as a leading InsurTech hub? Mike, why don't I give you the first word on this one?
I'm in two frames of mind on this question. From one, is, as you say, this is the home of giants like Swiss Re, Zurich. You have Winterthur, which then became AXA Winterthur. Swiss Life. This is a sort of a big traditional hub, but I actually personally feel other spaces are more active, and I also see. It's maybe also a mentality thing, you know. I mean, the Swiss going for broke and just like, you know, being an entrepreneur is maybe not like, let's say, an American entrepreneurial spirit or even a German entrepreneurial spirit. So I think it's they're wary of change. But on the other hand, once you have proven yourself, I think you're really in a very good position to work that, let's say, or leverage that position. And we see some of the big players are very open to working with InsurTechs. I think it's also a new phenomenon, and I think we'll need a few more years to sort of suss out that collaborative model. But there are some players in the market that I take my hats off to, in the sense that they're very open, they're very flexible, they're engaging with us. They're also supporting us in areas that we have difficulty with. I can only just mention the House of InsurTech Switzerland that Generali founded as a sort of an open innovation space for companies. That's just an example of how things are picking up steam.
Example, Mike. Actually, we hope to have some of the folks from the House of InsurTech in, and hopefully next time they can share some of their perspective as that develops. Michael, have you been there yet? Is that where you're working from, or what do you think about?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Now we can see you again as well.
Okay, perfect, fantastic. Yeah. So the technical issues continue with the technology that we have. I guess that's one learning from the pandemic as well, is you can't always rely on technology. What I wanted to say, so we had the great opportunity to be part of the F10 accelerator here in Switzerland that's focused on fintech, but it's actually very international. And I would say that is one of the advantages actually that Switzerland has. It's a fantastic hub for international companies, for networking with international companies, and that's something we hope to be able to benefit from as well. Because on the other side, if you just look at the Swiss market, it's a very small market for a lot of the solutions. And if you look at life insurance or life InsurTechs, it's even a smaller market. So anyone who wants to survive starting out from Switzerland probably has to look beyond the borders. We have been very lucky as well with our insurance partners that are very open for innovation, open for partnerships. So I really believe as well that Switzerland offers a very good infrastructure from a company perspective, from the insurance industry, but also I think from the government side, for example, with InnoSwiss or with some other projects that exist. So there's a lot happening to support, I think, the innovation that Switzerland has. And we all know Switzerland has always been very, very innovative, also in the insurance space.
Great. Well, thank you both for those words. As you know, we're big believers in Switzerland's global potential, but also its unique local characteristics. And I think you both mentioned some of the aspects of that, the local opportunities to develop things and to figure out that new open innovation collaboration model, but also the opportunity to use this as a global platform. So exciting to see how that develops. I'm noticing, as much fun as I'm having, we are getting towards the end of our limit on time. I guess it's a good time to ask you guys, it's a little bit of a hard time to predict too much of what's ahead, but are there some final messages as we're all locked down and reflecting and thinking about how we want to move forward in life? Are there any last messages you want to leave for our audience? Michael, first from SAFESIDE.
Yeah, I think keep your heads up, of course, in terms of pandemics. At least the first phase seems to be very soon getting a little bit more free again, so we can walk around a little bit more freely. I think the same is probably true with digital as well. We all know that actually digital can solve a lot of problems, or at least support and help us in many different ways. And Switzerland, I think, is a very good example here in terms of the innovation that I mentioned. But ultimately, what it really comes down is the very focus on people, and that's what is really at the heart or at the core of SafeSide as well, that we believe we shouldn't produce products and try the people to fit them, but actually we should have a platform and do the products that actually people truly need and to solve the problems that they have.
Thanks, Michael. And Mike, last words to you.
I just personally think it's been a very reflective time. It's been a time where we've all had to sort of maybe think twice about the speed of things and how everything has been happening. I personally feel very fortunate to be in Switzerland. My family is in Switzerland and our company is in Switzerland. And I think it has also proven that digital can be incredibly agile, can really shift and provide the solutions you need in this, let's say, critical transition phase. And yeah, personally, I think my last words are appreciate the small things, because never take it for granted.
Well, thank you both, Mike and Michael. I appreciated that chance to talk, and I've also appreciated getting involved with entrepreneurs like you. Say hi to the teams, especially at Vlot, to Sandro and the guys. I wish everybody a good weekend. We'll be following up on InsurTech in the coming weeks ahead. Back next week with more content for you to keep yourself busy with. And I hope you'll comment, engage us, and let us know what you're thinking about when it comes to the Swiss FinTech ecosystem. So Mike and Michael, thanks again, and have a good weekend, everyone.
Thanks to you as well.
Take care, guys. Stay safe.
Bye-bye, Mike.
Bye.